Welcome to Cody and the Cinema. Today I'm discussing 4 films from the Criterion collection that have a play within the play, so to speak. In other words, there's a performance aspect that occurs within the film, and I couldn't go through a topic like this without at least mentioning a film that has been highly inspirational to other Shakespearean adaptations, and probably plenty of stage adaptations as well. This is Laurence Olivier's Hamlet, where he stars as Hamlet. Now, I've only seen this on a DVD print, and it is a really cool, dark, brooding piece of black and white photography. It did at the time win Best Picture and Best Actor, so Olivier played Hamlet, and I actually think he even played like the ghost, right? There are other big name actors in here. I believe Gene Simmons is in it. The most famous scene from Hamlet, which, if you recall, is the story of it's sort of a revenge-ish tale of Shakespeare, but there's a scene where he suspects that Claudius he's trying to figure out the guilt of Claudius, and so he there's a play he puts on or has put on, and it is kind of meant to help gauge his reaction as to how much that this character had in this murder. For those of you that haven't heard of or haven't seen Hamlet or aren't as familiar with the play, and if you do like the dark black and white corners and edges and so forth, I think you will like the Olivier version of Hamlet. It did get a little bit of grief though, because it cuts down certain parts of the plot. Worth noting, there is a small Christopher Lee role in here, and I need to go back and look and see if I can find it because I never noticed that. I always liked Hamlet. I was always partial to this version. So outside of Richard III, which is my favorite Shakespeare play, which has a great Technicolor version in the Criterion collection you should check out. I really do like this one a lot. And along those lines, the reason I brought up Hamlet, because the to be or not to be, the soliloquy, the Hamlet stuff, is brought up in another movie. Now, I don't want to exactly say how or what the significance of that is, but there's this movie about this guy named Doc Holliday, this guy named Wyatt Earp, called My Darling Clementine. And for those of you that are big fans of the Val Kilmer film Tombstone, this was one of the versions of that same story. This is a very good one. There is a performance of Shakespeare in that, sort of. Like I said, I don't want to spoil for you if you haven't seen it, but it's small, but it sort of highlights certain pieces of the greater narrative. And I think it's a great inclusion in that picture. I've talked on this channel before about Frontier Marshal, that also has a play within a play, but I don't think that's actually in the collection. So this is about the shootout at the OK Corral. It does feature, John Ford directing. Henry Fonda is in this film as Wyatt Earp. And this one is always what I've thought of as one of the very literary kind of Westerns, especially since it directly ties in that Shakespeare piece. So if you are a Western fan like I am, and you're a Shakespeare fan like I am, and you're a fan of drama, then you really do need to see My Darling Clementine and kind of get your take on this. Because like I said, it's not a huge part of the film, but I believe that scene has meaning for the way it kind of ripples through the rest of the picture. And so I wanted to mention that since I was already mentioning Hamlet. Now, there are 2 films that I really thought of when I thought of this topic. One is a film that I like, but I'm not as in love with as some people are in the collection. I have kept my copy, and I do think it features some of the most dazzling performances and sets and so forth in the collection. So if you're a musical fan, this is one you have to see. And there are multiple plays within plays in this. There's a really bizarre dance performance in one part. In fact, the whole picture of all that jazz is kind of the story of this director's, choreographer's life and how it's kind of unraveling and all the bad mistakes he's made, and the lines between reality and fiction blur, and he talks to Jessica Lange, who's like an angel or something, and this is kind of the perfect example of a play within a play, out of things I could think of, especially since at the very end you get a whole lot of that. So if you're into musical theater, this is probably going to be one of your favorite movies you watch. Like if you're into that whole vibe. For me, it's just like, it's a lot. It's a lot to watch. But I do enjoy the film, and I had to mention it. But I did want to go to my last one and actually what inspired this whole video. Okay? I have made no secret on my channel that I'm a Yasujiro Ozu film fan. I talk about him a lot, and he's my favorite director. Another one of my favorite directors really studied Yasujiro Ozu. It's Wim Wenders, who has plenty of good movies, some in the collection, some not. But I was rewatching this wonderful film in 4K, and boy, does it look good, about these angels that, accompany the world and are curious about the humans around them. This is called Wings of Desire. And in Wings of Desire, these angels are in the library, they're on the streets, they might be in a small building, wherever they are, they're interacting with humans, but the humans don't realize it. They're trying to provide what comfort they can in a difficult world full of deep philosophically challenging questions. But the main character, who is an angel, starts having a little crush on this performer in this circus. And he starts to want to experience humanity, as many of the angels seem to. And there are these performances of the circus. That's part of the play within the play. There is this kind of rock or alternative concert that goes on in the film, and that has that play within a play element. And there's also, on top of that, if you're a fan of Peter Falk like I am, especially in A Woman Under the Influence, great picture, he's starring in a movie. So they're actually filming a movie about Nazi-related content and Holocaust-related content. They're actually filming that movie, and the angels are watching it. So like the angels are watching that whole film process go down, and I was like, I did not realize the first time I watched it, this was like, there were different meanings of like play within a play. And because of the way the camera hangs up over this in the sky, over the ground, you almost feel like the god watching over it all. And so it kind of has all these deeper meanings. And I leave it to Wim Wenders, a great artist, a great talent, a great filmmaker, to give us that. But it inspired this whole video. And I was thinking, what are some others, that are like that? And it's fascinating to me whenever anyone dealing with fiction is able to create good fiction out of other fiction. So those are just some that I thought of, that I own, that I've seen, that have this play within a play concept. Do you all have any recommendations for me or for others? You can leave in a comment. If you did enjoy this video in any way, if you would do me a favor and click the like button, it will help grow the channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing that, because I cover lots of Criterion stuff on here. I cover Westerns. I cover, sometimes more artistically related films, sometimes horror stuff. I really love movies, and I love sharing my thoughts about them. And we will see you next time on Cody in the Cinema.